I am going to explain the crap out of that game. What? You don't know how to play Gin Rummy? Don't worry, I gotcha. Come on, let's go! Woo! Hello. You'll often see Gin Rummy appear in old movies and TV shows. And that's because in the 1940s and 50s, this game was a national craze. Everyone was playing it, and it's still popular today. I think that's because gin is very easy to learn, but if you practice, there's room for you to get really good. There are many types of rummy games because rummy is a family of card games. This is a 2-player game. If you have more players, check out my video on Rummy 500. Gin Rummy is played over several hands and you'll earn points at the end of each hand, with the goal of reaching 100 points. In all rummy games, you try to create groups of cards called melds. Any card not grouped in a meld is called deadwood. There are 2 kinds of melds. There is a set, which is 3 or 4 cards of the same type. For example, 3 jacks make a set. 4 eights make a set. The other type of meld is called a run. A run is 3 or more cards of the same suit that are in sequential order. Ace is always low. For example, ace, 2, 3 of diamonds, that makes a run. Queen, king, ace, not a run, because ace is always low. Runs can be as long as you can make them. One thing that makes gin different than other rummy games is that you'll hold all your melds and deadwood in your hand until the end of the round. As you play, try to improve your hand so that you have the least amount of deadwood possible. I'll talk more about scoring at the end. Now let's break it down. How to play gin.
Hey, wait, what are you doing there? Stop that.
First, we'll set it up. You'll need a 52 card deck and a pen and paper to keep score. Each player draws a card from the deck and the lowest card deals first. After that, my house rule is to take turns dealing. The dealer shuffles the cards and the other player cuts them. Deal out 10 cards each, and then place a card face up to form the discard pile. Place the deck next to the discard pile and that becomes the stock. That's it. You did it. You're all set up to play gin. Now let's start playing. Each turn has 2 parts. First, the player draws a card and then they discard a card. When drawing a card, they get to choose to either take the top card of the discard pile or the top card of the stock pile. After drawing a card, choose one card and discard it face up onto the discard pile. You want to keep cards that you'll be able to meld and get rid of your deadwood. And then it's the next person's turn, and they'll take a turn the same way. You just go back and forth, just like that. But there's a special rule for the very first turn of the game, so let's go back. Whoop! For the first turn after the cards are dealt, the player that did not deal has the option to take the first card of the discard pile. If they don't want it, they pass, and then the dealer has the option to take it. If either player took the card, then they complete their turn by discarding, and then it's the next person's turn as normal. But if neither player wants it, then the person that did not deal starts the game by drawing from the stockpile. Players continue drawing and discarding back and forth until the round ends. If a player has less than 10 points of deadwood at the end of their turn, they can choose to end the round. That's called knocking. They just discard their last card face down on the discard pile and knock on the table to signify the end of the round. A player could even knock on their very first turn if their deal was good enough, as long as they have less than 10 points of deadwood. But they don't have to knock if they don't want to. They can choose to continue playing to improve their hand. If they manage to have 0 deadwood, when they knock, that's called going gin, and they get bonus points. I'm about to talk about scoring, but first let me tell you another way the hand can end. It's rare, but if you get to a point where there are only 2 cards left in the stock, and the person that drew the third to last card discards without knocking, the hand is over. Nobody gets any points. Womp womp. The dealer shuffles the cards and they'll start over with a new hand. Alright, now it's time to figure out the score. What's interesting is that you do not count the value of the melded cards. The winner of the round gets points based on the amount of deadwood left in their opponent's hand. Each card has a point value equal to their number. Ace is always 1 point, 2s are worth 2 points, 3s are 3 points, and so on. The face cards, Jack, Queen, and King, are all worth 10 points each. So if a player knocked, there are 3 possibilities. They win the hand by going gin, they knock and win the hand by having less deadwood, or they knocked and end up losing because they had more deadwood. Let's look at an example of each. Going gin is the best. I'll show you that first. That means knocking with 0 deadwood. If a player goes gin, they get the value of all their opponent's deadwood and also 20 bonus points. So here, that's 8 plus the 20 bonus, that equals 28 points. Write that down. Okay, let's score another hand. Whoop! If someone knocks without going gin, they lay out all their cards. They separate their cards between their deadwood and their melded sets. Now the person that did not knock does the same, but they also get to lay off. That means they can take their deadwood and include it into the knocker's melds. They can add to their sets or continue their runs, but they cannot meld into their opponent's deadwood. To be extra clear, only the player that did not knock gets to lay off, and they only get to do it if the knocker did not go gin. Alright, so after the cards are laid off, compare the value of the 2 players' remaining deadwood and see who has less. Lower is better. If the player that knocked has less than their opponent, they win the round and earn points equal to the difference between the 2 counts. So here, the player that knocked has 8 points of deadwood. Face cards count as 10, so the other player has 22. So that's 22 minus 8. The player that knocked earns 14 points. Okay, last thing. If a player knocks and ends up having more deadwood, that's called being undercut. Let's take a look. Whoop! Okay, here the player knocks. The other player gets to lay off their cards. The player that knocked has 9. The other player has 1 and wins the round. The knocker's opponent scores the difference and also gets 10 bonus points. So here, 9 minus 1 is 8. Add the 10-point undercut bonus, and the knocker's opponent gets 18 points. So be careful how you knock, people. You continue playing hands and keep a running tally of your score. If you're the first person to win 100 points, that means you've won at Gin Rummy. Congratulations! Now you know how to play gin. I touched on it at the beginning, but I wanted to talk more about the cultural significance of gin. So, as an extra bonus, I created a separate video with my top 3 scenes of Gin Rummy in TV and film. If you're interested in old-timey movies, well, I have it up on my channel now. Alright everyone, now it's time for you to decide if there's any buttons you want to hit. Did you like this? Did I present the rules clearly? Your comments and game requests are very welcome. And if you subscribed, I will be bringing you a new game every few weeks. And maybe I'll surprise you with your new favorite game.